Greetings and salutations, race fans, motorsport lovers, and others, and welcome to Day 5, Stage 4 of Dakar 2021, the South African Impact. And today we're going with Impact because we've had a major, there's been some stuff, and particularly in relation to speed cops, that you'll see that it comes in later. My name's Colin. Joined in studio by Darryl Curtis, enduro legend, backbreaker, and Dakar finisher. Darryl, thank you very much for coming in and chatting with us. I know it's going to be interesting.
No, it's a pleasure. It's great to be here, and thanks very much.
And as per usual, is it Melville, close to Parkview, close to the dodgy places of the world. It's Andrew the Horn Dog, who's looking after all the questions and the queries that you, the viewers, will send in. Andrew, thank you for joining us, and I hope that your thunderstorm and lightning strike from yesterday has been resolved.
Yeah, no, we're all clear tonight, so there's actually some sunshine here. So, yeah, I think we're safe for tonight. Good evening, everybody, and nice to have Darryl with us tonight as well.
It's going to be interesting. Of this, I am certain. And then, somewhere close to the southern tip of this wonderful continent that we live on, close to the sea, on a veranda, within an arm's reach of a glass of wine, Stephie Vetter from the Southern African Dakar Group. Thank you for joining us again, Stephie.
Hello, Colin. How's it, Andrew? Darryl, lovely to see you again. It's really good to be back in the saddle on stage 4.
It was an interesting day, the longest day, they said, not from a racing point of view, but from total kilometers, over 800 kilometers of driving. The service crews did, I think, 798 kilos of driving today, and tomorrow they've got another bloody long day. But it was a very interesting one because we also had a long day. We thought that we had some results, and we thought that all our graphics were done, and then they weren't done. So, Fritz, if you will bear with us, shall we start, Stephie, straight away with the results? Then we'll go and have a bit of a chat about the South African guys, and particularly what they did, and some of the speeding and some of the getting lost and some of the traffic jams. And as we go, Darryl, there's stuff here that, I mean, you've done Dakar properly. Fritz, show us the pictures of Darryl at Dakar. 2012, you finished 22nd, I think?
Yeah, so that was the first time. We went with a very low-key Dutch team called Memo Tours. Alfie Cox helped us out to get us set up. And then the second time we bought a ride in the KTM factory team as support riders with Broadlink.
And that didn't go so good.
No, I mean, the second time round, a lot more experience and everything else. And then I think 4 days from the end, I had a big crash. We all got lost in the morning, and I ended up hurting myself, hurt my back and my shoulder. And I struggled through the last 4 days like that, but very unpleasant.
It wasn't just hurt your back and shoulder. You broke bits and pieces in your back, and you broke bits and pieces in your shoulder. And then the lunatic that you are, 2,500 odd kilometers, and 4 days later you get to the end.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. You know, you've taken a lot of money from somebody, and that's where, the true grit comes into a race like this, where you're never going to give up no matter what. And if I went back and I saw how bad my injuries were at the time, of course I wouldn't have carried on. I would have pulled out. It would have been the right thing to do.
Racers don't do that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we made it to the finish line, and I recovered throughout the following year, and got back into racing again.
Is there anything in the world more painful? I would imagine what you went through is more painful than childbirth.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't know. It was pretty sore, I must be honest. And it was really hard to push through it. And looking back now, I think it was a really dumb thing to do. At the Dakar, in those years, we've also had guys that have finished with broken necks, fractured vertebrae. They get back, can't move their neck. Doctors, they do the X-ray and the MRIs and everything else. No, you've actually broken your neck. And the guy's like, you are so lucky that you're not paralyzed right now. Just don't move. We're going to take you to theatre.
Meantime, we've been racing the bike, sat on an aeroplane, sucked the hell out of a whole lot of painkillers, and there you are.
So I think the will to finish this race is high. It's
well
huge.
done, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's a mega achievement to do, just to finish. And I think you were second amateur in 2012, am I right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And broken in 2013.
But now we've got a whole new wave of riders. If you look at what Rossi's doing at the moment, it's phenomenal. I mean, to break into the top 10, we're going back to Alfie Cox days, where we're getting these kind of results, and I think the whole of South Africa is really excited now to see this new wave of fresh blood coming in. Look at Henk in the cars, it's really exciting, and it's just so nice to see so many South Africans doing so well this year. It's super exciting.
One of the reasons, apart from Darryl's experience in Dakar, why we asked him to come into the studio, is that Darryl is the official representative or liaison officer for the ASO, and I think your title is Dakar Liaison Officer for Southern Africa.
That's correct. So basically my job is to help anybody that wants to go to the Dakar. I'm a stepping stone for them, to give them the right guidance and the right advice on how to prepare themselves. I'll let the ASO know that we've got new interest coming on board, and connect them to the organization so they can start getting all of the emails and the updates. And then I also connect them to various teams, for example, like the BAS team now, which a lot of South Africans are using as a platform.
I want to stop you there because there's a whole lot of interesting questions and stuff. But let's get to the results, the sharp end, and look for those Botswana flags, because there's two of them. One at the top end of the results, and the other one with almost... Botswana is bookending the bike results. So Fritz, let's go with the bikes day results. And Stephie, you've got to jump in here, and you know more about bloody motorbikes than I do. So if we go with bikes, stage 4, I think it is called. Picture number... Oh, hell, I've got lost. There we go. Stephie, talk us through bike results and who did what to whom.
So today was absolutely frenetic again. I mean, every day it's this game of Russian roulette. It's literally, let's play Scrabble, pick a letter. Okay, I'm going to pick D. Let's see who's going to be top of the GC. So, for example, tonight it's De Sultre. So we had a fantastic stage. Ross had a really clean day out there. So we've got Jean Bereda right at the top of the log, followed by Chucky Saunders, the new revelation on the KTM factory team. He was just flawless today. Then with the one brother, Luciano Benavides, and of course Rossi in fourth. Now Rossi actually finished higher up in the stage today, but the Kalahari Ferrari put foot and he got a speeding fine. But when we got some word from Rossi earlier, he said it's not a bad thing because it has pushed him down the order a wee bit for starting tomorrow. So he's more than happy with how it panned out. In the GC, you've got Xavier De Sultre in P1.
Hold on, Stephie, if you... Hang on, if we just get Fritz to put us bikes overall up, and then that will show what is what. There we go.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, Colin, because if you look at it, so Toby, Skylar, Matthias, goodbye, where are they? Then you've got Xavier De Sultre, you've got Jean Bereda, followed by Rossi, followed by Kevin Benavides. But look at the gaps. There is 2/100ths of a second between position 2 and position 3. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Stephie, never mind that. Go from 2 to 5, and it's like 6 seconds. Oh, no, sorry, 2 seconds. You got a 24, 24, 26, and then a 31 with Luciano in 6. That is, and they've done 4 stages. They've done a lot of riding.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3,580 odd kilometers. Skylar has been pushed out to 5 in the GC. He said he had a good day, but unfortunately he went over the bars as well. He also got a bit lost, navigation playing its part. He did a bit of a run around with Matthias Volkner. They went on walkabout at one stage, and then of course he went over the bars, but he's fine. And P5, he's going to fight another day. And we're going back to what Darryl was saying, that again, Skylar's on the BAS Dakar KTM racing team. The rally replica. It is incredible. I can't wait for tomorrow. Interestingly enough, there was no speculation about tires. But Colin, jump in. Where are we at?
I wanted to ask you what kind of jacket Skylar is wearing on Dakar.
Very, very interesting that. We spoke about it last night. So Gerrit de Toy, the Mirror Rain jackets, are not only on Skylar. The list is so long I actually have to go to my notes. Very proud of them. Quintanilla, Price, Sunderland, Ross, Saunders, Chucky Saunders, Guian, Zaker, Zans, Volkner, Andrew, Benavides, Michael. They're all in Mira rain jackets. It's incredible. South African product. So proud of Gerrit. So proud of the international riders supporting our local product, and it's a brilliant product. I mean, it's tried and tested, and it's so good to see them when they go out in the mornings and those guys have got those jackets on. So well done, Gerrit, and your team.
We said that there's a South African impact, and whether we've got drivers, riders, mechanics, designers, builders, clotherers, and organisers, it's just South Africa has a massive, massive impact on Dakar. So you were talking, and we had a brief little discussion about these tyres. And a couple of shows ago, we had this opinion of, or a comment was made that the 6 tyres that the bikers, rear tyres that the bikers are limited to, was supposedly a safety thing that is going to slow them down. Darryl, you had a rather different sort of view on it. I mean, a racer, can you slow a racer down?
I don't think it's really going to hold them back too much, but the danger is that they're going to run out of tires at the end, which is something that I don't think they've obviously thought about it, but I think that is what's going to happen as we get towards the end of the race, is that the guys are going to start running out of rubber. They've only got 6 tires. They're not allowed to change them with any other competitors. They're marked. They've got their race number on. They can't swap tires. When they're done, they're done. And, you know, I mean, you heard Ricky Brabeck as well was saying that he thinks it's very dangerous because, you know, you're going to run out of rubber, you're going to lose grip. They're all trying to go fast. You see how close the gaps are between the riders. They're all going to be pushing as hard as they can, and it could become dangerous if they start running out of rubber.
Could it be that if they get to a place, position, I don't know, Saturday's rest day, by Monday, Tuesday, they're going to be running out of tyres, and as a group, they go to ASO and say, excuse me, we need 2 more tyres to run. Do you think that they would buckle at that?
Well, it depends on what the next stages are going to look like. If it really gets dangerous, then the ASO, of course, would make a rule and say, yes, we're going to allow more tyres. But at the moment, they're going to stick to their guns and see how it plays out. It's, you know, they really are trying to discipline the riders and to get the speeds down. They've also tried to make the course more technical. And they've taken all of the fast bits that we had last year out. You know, it's a completely redesigned course. I don't think there's even a kilometre that's the same as it was last year. So when it comes to injuries and things like that, the organization really does take it seriously. You can see now with the airbag vests that they're using and trying to slow the race down. But the problem is, over the years, you've got all of the motocross riders and the enduro specialists and everybody else being hired by the teams to just simply go faster in the tighter conditions.
It changes the character of the race completely, from a 3-week enduro when it was up in Africa through to basically a 2-week
motocross race at the moment. I mean, in the old days it was an adventure. You know, you got your road book, and there were women. Well, there still are a lot of women in it today. Don't get me wrong, but it was an adventure going from Paris to Dakar, and now it's simply become a flat-out motocross race where every second counts, as you can see in the results from today, and the overall results.
And it's cool for us as spectators.
Yeah, but to run in the top 10, the pace that these guys are running at the moment is ridiculous. It's huge. And that's why the speed is so important, to get the speed down, because when they go down and they crash, it's big, and they're normally out the race.
Yeah, and then there's a big difference in energy between 130 and 150 k's an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Andrew Horn, apparently we've lit the bomb, whatever, the fire with the tyre questions. What you got for us?
Yeah, there was a question from Robert Driver asking if you adjust tyre pressures while you're on the move, depending on the terrain, similar to the cars. But I think Garth Roberts has put that one out, and so Stuart Gregory, saying that the mousses are a solid sort of foam rubber, and they simulate a sort of 1.2 bar pressure, and they're not adjustable. I don't know if it was like that when you were there.
No, that's correct. We've been running mousses for years. And of course, when you're in a hard pack situation and you're running high speeds, then the mousses can generally heat up and start coming apart. So that we've seen a lot in the past. Well, you've seen the guys coming in before on the rim.
Yeah.
So when the mousse collapses, there's not much you can do. You can either borrow a wheel from another competitor, which is not allowed this year, or you
wheel
stop,
spin.
you take the tire off and you ride in on the rim.
It's a different world, hey? I mean, I'm half speechless.
Hope
But
they've made a good quality rim as well.
Yeah, the rims can take a lot of punishment, but you know, and it's difficult in the sand because you can't ride in the sand on the rim. So it could mean the end of your race if you're still quite deep in the stage.
we've got a voice note. Stephie has the most amazing level of contacts, and people send her stuff, people that I didn't even know existed, let alone have the kind of relationships she's got with them. So you got a voice note. Just explain the context of the voice note on the tires, Stephie.
You've actually got me stumped. I don't know which voice note you're referring to.
Okay, well, we've got a voice. There's so many of them. Just hold.
Say the voice note.
Oh, you've got the voice note on tires, and who did? Fritz is telling me that you've got it. I thought we had it. Okay, we'll find that voice note, and we'll play it back. He's telling me about that. So, okay, so you run out of tires, you basically screwed.
Yeah, that's why I say it's going to be super interesting to see how it pans out, because if the guys, they're going to run, when the tire's finished, it's finished. They're still going to have to try and ride, but they won't be able to ride at the same speed that they're riding at the moment. So the teams will also help them to manage their tires,
Okay.
but they, you know, all they've got to work on is basically the book that the organization gives you. Tomorrow is going to be a sandy stage. They can have a look at the terrain. There's no more information that gets given to them about, yes, it's going to be a hard pack, it's going to chow your tires, it's going to be rocky, it's going to be whatever. And they only get the road book 20 minutes before the start in the morning, so they can't even, you know, prepare themselves the day before.
I'm on there's a group with that electronic briefing in the evening, and it just says you're going this far, it's roughly like this. There's no scientific thing where you can say this is what it is, and plan the attack.
Exactly.
Which makes it more, the riders and drivers have got to use their heads.
Yeah, the reason why they did that is because in the past a lot of the teams had mapmen where they would get the road book early in the afternoon. They would then put it into Google Earth and replicate that entire road book, and then do a Google flyover with the riders and have a look and see, okay, in the river, in the Rio here, 232 kilometers, you're going to turn out left, and they can more or less see what it looks like and everything else.
And the route is planned, allegedly, this is apparently a true story, down this little ravine that's really rocky. But 20 kilos before the ravine, if you turn left and go around the other side of the mountain, there's virtually a highway here, and you can pin it. And it is told, fable goes, that one of the V8s exploded after spending a long time at full throttle, and they couldn't find the guy because they were looking here where he should have been, but he'd broken down over there where the flat out pass was.
Yeah, not always the case, you know, they cut here and there, you know, they can cut a corner or a little bit out, but, you know, you also can't cut too much because there's a fence in the way or there's a ravine that they didn't see or something like that.
And they're getting more sneaky with the waypoints now.
Yes, hidden waypoints, but I think all of the riders welcome it, because a lot of the riders that can't afford to have a map and at the race, it just levels the playing fields for everybody now. So you get your road book 20 minutes before the start in the morning, you can have a look through it, and the organization has taken a lot more effort now to put a lot more detail into the road book to make it a lot safer than it was in the past.
And they've got standard color codes across across all the books. And we've had, I think, every show this Dakar, we've had comments about the road book, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. Let's move on to, we're going to come back, and there's that's actually the service road book. That just gives you an idea of the kilometers that they're going to drive tomorrow. 518 kilometers the service crews are going to drive tomorrow. That's after they've driven 790 odd kilos today. So the guys are getting a little bit much. Let's have a look at the cars.
Before you do that,
Yes.
if I may, while we're still on bikes, two questions. First one for Darryl from Willie Prinsloo is, who was known for doing exceptionally well in your time on tough races? And is it correct that the organizer setting out a tough route determines the speed? So it's up to them to create a challenging route to limit the speeds for safety. Is that an accurate sort of comment?
It is. You know, at my time it was Mark Coma and Cyril Dupre and those guys that were racing, and then already the organisers had started making it more and more technical. And if you look back in the old days, the route was a lot easier, maybe going from town to town, not necessarily in a straight line, but as time's gone on now, they've now taken you off the road and they zigzagging you down these difficult rocky canyons and things like that. And don't get me wrong, the old days was also extremely difficult, but they had a lot more of these dunes stages. I don't know if you remember these massive amount of dunes, and that's coming back into it now in Saudi Arabia. We're getting a lot more sand into the mix now, where in South America we had a lot more forest in Argentina, and the real desert was in Chile, but in the latter years we started moving more into Bolivia and where there
Peru.
was less sand, more hard pack.
Yeah, it's wonderful how the flavor, the character of the event grows, and as it moves in a certain direction, you bloody racers come up with a way of beating what an organizer is trying to do, and you might get a little bit of ahead of the organizers, and then they pull back and move in another direction. And no matter what any organizer does, the teams who really want to win have got so many clever people and so many brains, and all of them looking for a loophole or a way of playing the rules.
It's exactly it. You just have to look at Formula One, and they just change the little angle of a wing, and they get an extra little bit of speed. And it's the same with the bikes and the cars. Any little advantage they can get, they'll take.
I mean, and it's now a 450 single, and they're quicker than were they 850 twins back in your day?
Look, the top speed of the 950s that Mione and Giovanni Sala rode back in the day, they got stupid speeds. But these 450s are capable of 180 kilometers an hour true speed.
That's crazy, eh?
And 160 k's an hour in the sand. So 50 to 60 horsepower coming out of a little 450, that's quite a lot.
And in your day, what is the top speed you got to?
They were the same, also 180 k's an hour.
I mean, crazy. Right, let's talk about cars on the stage. And Stephie, please feel free to to have a go. It was a brilliant day again, to interrupt as I go through it. Brilliant day again for Nasser Al Attiyah. I think Matthew got the nav right, they got the speed right. And in third place, so Peter Hansel comes in second, but in third place, Henk Ladegan actually led for a while in the middle portion of the stage. And when we talk about leading, it's on time, not so much on the road point of view. At 100 k's an hour, a minute is 1.6 kilometers. So the cars, they start out at 3 minute gaps, so they're sort of 5-6 kilometers apart from each other. But he led on time. So absolutely brilliant that Henk took the fight to Nasser, and I think Glyn would have been shitting himself just seeing exactly how fast this kid is going. No doubt Henk would have got out and said that he was driving within himself, and he gets a funny little grin on his face when he knows he's pinning it. Anyway, so he came in 1 minute 30, and part of the reason he lost a lot of time, when I say a lot, over a minute, due to a tire delamination right near the end. And then on my notes, there's two other names that I've got here just in the top 10, although you can see 11 there. Brian Baragwanath and Tay Perry came in 11th, 11 minutes behind. And another unbelievably fantastic run from the two of them. And I think that it's very, very impressive where they are running. Seb Loeb, Daniel Ellen and the BRX in 4th, and Carlos Sainz in 5th. And I think those are two, in my mind, quite significant results. We've seen the Hunter, the ProDrive car. We've seen them come in the first two stages. They were not so much there. And I think that the march is on. From the rest of the South African contingent, 15th, Janelle de Villiers and Alex Haro. They had a little bit of a better day. Marcelo Gastaldi in the CL6 was 20th. Leroy in 23rd. And Shami Variawa had a much, much better day than the 2 days that preceded it. Nothing much broke. They did get some punches. They did have some navigation issues. But he came in 27th. And the one that Matthew Serradori he came in 28th. Steph, you know the the Century team. What was going on there with Seradori?
You know what, before we go to Century, Colin, I just have to go kudos to Henk and Brett. What a day. What an incredible day. They had a blinder. I mean, 1.5 minutes behind NASA, Alatia, the legend. It is phenomenal. Look at where they are in the GC. So, to the Gazoo team, to Toyota Gazoo Racing South Africa.
Just
Henk
to
and
add
Brett,
sorry to interrupt, but to add to that little comment is they'd had a flat earlier on in the day, a puncher. And that takes around about a minute to change. And we know motor racing is not ifs, ands, and or buts. But it just puts it into perspective how quick this kid is.
No, it's actually a lot more than a minute, because remember, you've got to get out of the car and buckle yourself, put the jacks up, go get your, they've got an electric
battery
drill, take all the wheel nuts off, get the spare wheel out. So it's a lot more than a minute. But I think
those
the
wheels
job
aren't light.
wheels are heavy.
But Brett is
correct.
strong.
But I mean, the job that Henk is doing at the moment is just phenomenal. If you look at the stage in the sand, his first proper sand stage, he finished second. And he just smashed it. And I mean, I have to just add that they're both dirt bike riders as well.
There's a controversial question just on that topic of Henk. And it comes from Andrew Spark on YouTube asking, do you think Toyota Gazoo Racing would have asked Henk to, in essence, move over for NASA and ride shotgun?
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
I don't think so either.
It's too early in the race, and I know Glenn, and let the best man win. No team orders there. Maybe possibly at the end of the race they might put some kind of strategy together, but I think at the moment now, let the best man win, and he's doing a phenomenal job. He's proven that he can run up with the best in the world, and it's just unbelievable to watch him.
We're 4 days in.
Really is special.
We're 4 days in. You've got the might of X-Raid and ProDrive. They are there. You cannot... Motorsport or racing is a lot about pressure. And if you're not giving pressure, you're getting pressure. And to sit back and say, right, okay, well, NASA's our quick guy. We want to slow down and play strategy. No, it makes absolutely no sense. It's let the kid free the bird. The bird will fly, and you'll see how quick it is.
I think arranging that kind of thing on a circuit with circuit type racing is a lot easier than, say, 400 Ks through the dunes, I would have thought as well. Orchestrating that over that distance is tricky.
Stephie, you had a point that we kind of interrupted. Where you were going about the Toyota and how well they ran. What else have you got in terms of the South African guys?
Well, the thing is with Janelle, he had a much better day as well. He, ended up in 15th, 23rd overall. Shamir, so happy that he's had a better day. He's had a bit of a shocker start. It's been really, really rough. The CR6s, you can't write off the CR6s. They are still running well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Matthew and Fabian, they missed a waypoint and zip-zapped around for a wee while, trying to find where they'd gone wrong. So they lost a bit of time. They've slipped down to 7th overall in the GC, but nothing wrong. I mean, they're in the top 10. Yazir, we hear, has damaged his steering rack, so he had no power steering in the back end of the race. Hence, he just lost, buckets of time, which is a pity because he was running easily in the top 10. But you know what? They'll fight back tomorrow. The biggest surprise for me before we get to Brian and Tay is Marcelo. The Brazilian with Lorival Roldan. He's having a fantastic race. He's always smiling. He's just chugging along, doing his thing. And look at his position. I mean, he's doing so well.
Got up to 25th in the overall now, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you think about it, he's almost a ride and drive. They met at Addis Ababa to get on that the flight that Toyota Gazoo Racing South Africa had organized, hopped across to Jeddah, and he's just having the most amazing time in the desert.
Yeah.
Tay and Brian had a better day today. They had a puncture as well. Again, who didn't today? A couple of wrong slots, nothing exceptional. Brian, we did have a brief contact with Brian just before we came on air. They were both feeling good. They were hungry. They were actually eating. And he said Tay's navigation was absolutely spot on today. They are going to be fighting back. They're feeling really happy with where they placed, though. So they're in a good space. So no great shakes, going to fight tomorrow. Put that battle armor on and get back out there.
I just want to jump in there quickly and just say how important the navigator is at this point, because you can drive super fast, but if your navigator can't find the way, you're going to go round and round in circles. And if you look at Stefan Peter Hansel, for example, so Edo Bullinger was actually the map man for KTM. So he is so clued up with the way that the organizers plan the race, how they're going to traverse the dunes and around the mountains and everything else. So he's got a phenomenal advantage there, having Edo with him. And then Matthew for NASA is exceptional.
Yeah.
Always finds his way. Lucas Cruz.
And NASA's, he's a dune surfer.
Yeah,
and
complete natural.
And Matthew, I mean, it was his birthday, or it is his birthday. The way he's a proper co-driver and navigator.
And the trick is that they've been together for so long, so that they know exactly how each other works, and it's basically like they work as one. And if you don't have that, then you're in big trouble. And if you look at the rest of the guys there, you know, Brett Cummings, obviously he's raced Dakar on a bike before, and the same with Tay. So you can see there, and also Dennis Murphy down there with Shamir, also a bike rider. So a massive advantage there, having these kind of navigators driving with you. Can be the fastest driver in the world, but if you don't know where to go, you're not going to do well.
I think Tay Perry has found her place. Just a couple of races that she did in the SA Cross Country Series, and then the way she slotted in and adapted to the car work, I think is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's a credit to you bikers that you finally see the sense and get into cars and do well.
That chick is a tough cookie. I was there last year in, it was last year now, in Saudi for her first Dakar on a bike, and what she managed to pull out there when she got stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely phenomenal how tough she is. And she's just so happy, got such a good spirit. So, yeah, it's just awesome to see them working so well together.
I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Darryl, we've got a question from Garth Roberts. What are your thoughts, pertinent to this topic on navigation? What are your thoughts on the electronic road book and its sort of introduction so far? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they've obviously had to do a lot of testing on it, but I think it's a step in the right direction, absolutely. It's fixed in the dashboard of the cars, and not quite there yet with the bikes, but I think it is definitely a step in the right direction. Yeah.
Okay, and then...
It cuts out a whole lot of we've gone on enough about the map, guys, but it also makes if there's any last minute route changes, it makes it very easy to get the right information out to the right people.
100%. We had some horrendous years in South America where there were massive damage from the rains, and they had to cut out. There were so many changes in that road book, and you've literally got to cut it up, paste and stick, and it just takes up hours and hours of your time. So now, going into the future now, electronically, like you say, last minute they can just upload the new road book, and it's as easy as that. So definitely a step in the right direction.
And then another question, Colin, that maybe you can elaborate on, from Vito Bonafides, asking, has Glenn's been rather quiet. Has Glenn put out any thoughts on Henk's performance so far?
Yes, no, he's not quiet. There's evening addresses to the nation, and he's incredibly impressed about Henk's performance, and I know that he's super proud. But Glenn also understands, and I think we could take a leaf out of his book, that two swallows don't make a summer, or two summers don't make a swallow, or whatever. And he's had two brilliant days. We know his talent. The world now understands how quick Henk Latergan is.
Well, Francois Pretorius has come in with a really cool little fact that Henk came out of the FIA Young Driver Academy, like Elvin and Sheldon van der Linde.
Yes, and he spent a lot of time in Europe bashing cars against the earth, and the Northern Hemisphere is still hurting from a lot of the cars that Henk assaulted it with. But in the last probably 12 months, there's been a marked shift in. It's almost like he's grown up, and he's still 20 20-something, early 20s. It's almost like a mental shift, and the calmness that he's got. I think it's almost the time that Brett Cummings got into the car with him. And Brett brings a calmness. I think he's got a presence in a car, and a very good move. But Stephie, talk to us some more about the Century Racing team.
Just to jump in there quickly, Colin, to answer Vito's question, and I'm hoping he's going to make a comeback at some point. But
In the classic division for all the drivers,
possibly.
navigators.
Vito Bonafide is a legend. Glenn's message here, basically when Henk finished second, Henk an incredible second, 3 minutes 38 behind NASA. I guess not only will South Africa be impressed, but an awful lot of people around the world also Glenn. So definitely acknowledges and is super proud of Henk.
Yeah.
And then also, Andrew, I can just jump in here with Vito, is we actually put the Glenn's media report onto the South African Dakar Group page every night. So if you can't find it, go and have a look there, because it's all the info is there, and they are so proud of Henk. There's a media frenzy around Henk in Saudi at the moment, and so well deservedly. I mean, he deserves every accolade that they're getting right now. Darryl, from your dealings with Brett, that calmness that he's bringing to the table as his navigator, do you think that's got an impact? Do you think that's actually helping them? How do you find that relationship going?
Look, I think it will. I mean, Henk, if I look back at the SACC Championship, he's been super aggressive, and I tell you what, he just drives absolutely flat out, probably a little bit too close to the limit. And at a race like the Dakar, you would have to show a lot more discipline and drive differently, and it certainly looks like he's doing it. Whether it's Brett's influence or not, I can't tell you, but it looks like the pair of them are working really well together. So I think it must have something to do with the control and the pace and everything else. But at the end of the day, once Henk gets into his groove and he starts feeling it, then I think...
You were speaking a little bit earlier about, we were looking at the co-drivers and the levels of experience that we've got there. Stefan Peter Hansel, he's over 50. NASA is over 50, or he's 50, sorry NASA. Carlos Sainz, over 50. Henk is 22, I think it is. He's half these guys' age. Now imagine another 20 years of experience. And it's experience in Dakar. I think Glenn has unearthed a gem here. I mean, we know how good he is in finding talent. And he unearthed Janelle, then Leroy, and now he's found Henk.
No, I think it's absolutely incredible for the team, and that experience that you're talking about. I mean, you can see with NASA how many years he's been involved in rally and what he's achieved. It takes a lot more than there's a couple of things that you need to win this race. You certainly need a whole lot of luck. If you look at Janelle this year, luck certainly hasn't gone his way. We know that he's capable of winning.
2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Man.
But together with that, the understanding of reading the terrain and keeping the car together, and strategy as well, when to do well in which stage and when to fall back, and all of these kinds of things, that's just experience. I mean, and I think with Henk, with a couple more Dakars under his belt, I mean, there's no question that he can win this race.
Yeah, that was...
well, exactly what you're talking about, age and experience. Johannes Itzebeth's come up with a question saying, do we think that Chanel will be replaced next year? And I'm not prepared to go near that question. I'll leave that one to you guys.
Let me say this. One quality that Glenn knows, and I'm not speaking for him, but just from the amount of time, the time I've spent with him, Glenn is loyal, and Glenn understands that drivers don't lose their talent. They don't suddenly just start going slow. Janelle, this is his 18th Dakar. He's finished 17 of them. So until now, he's got a 100% success record. Of those 17 that he's finished, 16 have been in the top 10, and he's won one. There is nobody in the world, in the history of the world, who's got a better finishing record than Janelle. We know that he's got the speed because he still runs right at the front. But there's something in the environment is isn't gelling at the moment. And Glyn understands setting an environment, and he'll find the issue in the environment, he'll change it, and I still think that Janil has got a Dakar in him to win.
I don't think
Yeah, I
that,
think you and I had this discussion last night, Colin, after the show, about gelling with the navigator, gelling with the car, gelling with the crew around you. You know, there are so many factors that sort of come into this to create a winning recipe, and it's the slightest little change can make all the difference.
Yeah. No, there's a tweak that I would love to be able to sit down with Janil over a couple of Cokes and stuff, and have a lekker discussion with him. I mean,
I think there's absolutely no chance that Janil will get replaced. I think he's an absolute legend. What he's done for Toyota and Hilux in this country is unbelievable. You know, his track record has shown that, you know, he's got what it takes. He can still win. Look at Matador. Look at Carlos Sainz. And yeah, you can have a bad race. It's allowed.
Of course you can.
He's gonna bounce back in the latter stages of this race. I can tell you now, and he's gonna have some super stages. So no, I wouldn't take anything away from Janil. Super talented, super nice guy. He's not going
as
anywhere.
well as he understands how to develop a car from scratch into a race-winning vehicle. He's done probably the bulk of the development on that Hilux Bucky.
Yeah, if you look at the feedback of all of these racers and drivers, if they're not capable of giving feedback back to the teams to try and help improve the car, then they've got nothing to work on. So I think that's been a very big part of it. NASA
and just come in with that very comment as well. Janil is Glyn's development guy.
Yeah. And if you look at what Glyn's accomplished over all the years, you know, going from the Nissan days over to the Toyota, and what they've been able to achieve, these cars are, and Century Racing as well, with Julian and Mark, the development they've done to build these cars made in South Africa that are doing so well, it is just mind-blowing what the talent that we have here.
It's phenomenal.
Darryl, a question from Stuart Gregory for you, with a comment. With age comes a cage. When are we going to see you in a racing car?
Yes, as soon as I get some of this.
Terence was here. We must hook you guys up.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, I would love to get into a car, but it's so out of reach. It's super, super expensive. And yeah, it's out of reach. I would love to. If anybody out there wants to give me a car, maybe Henny.
Real Stephie, back to you about the Century team.
I think we've moved on from the Century team, but you know, we haven't brought up tonight is James Alexander, our Kalahari Madala. I adore this man's spirit. You know, every night we get updates from him. He had a really interesting day today, but I wanted to bring back something from last night, because he lost 50 minutes today because he had fuel issues. Now, we were talking about this very thing last night with Andrew Short, you know, having the water in his fuel. He also had Darryl, I'd like you to jump in and give us your view. Have you heard anything coming in from Saudi about the fuel issues, water in the fuel, anything from your guys on the ground?
No, I haven't heard anything, but it looks like it is the case. You know, it wasn't only Andrew Short that had problems with the fuel. There were quite a few reports of guys having problems. So, and it's quite tricky because with these fuel injected bikes, the minute any water goes into the system, that gives major problems. So, there you can have a look in that picture there. Wow, it's a lot of water.
I looked at that and I thought, wow, there's so much oil and fuel in Saudi that it even gets into your water, but it's the water in the fuel.
It's game over. You just need one contaminated tanker that hasn't been cleaned out properly. It's got some water in there. Maybe somebody left the lid open. But yeah, absolutely, in Saudi I wouldn't have expected that. Yeah. So it is a surprise, and it's got severe consequences for anybody that you know, got more water than fuel, depending on at what stage they went into the pit area to go get refueled. So
yeah,
it's a mega logistical exercise, putting on an event for 500 odd, 400, whatever the number is, vehicles to move from, take this caravan through the countryside and make sure that everybody's got provisions, sufficient provisions. And there's bound to be something that goes wrong. But now, talking about James, and He came in 86 today, 2 hours 35 minutes behind. But Stephie, let's go. You've got a video on the about his fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. It was where he was explaining, what had gone down with him today before he hit the 4-lane madness of the highway going into Riyadh. Fritz, if you could play it, it would give us a better insight to what actually happened to him today.
Hi guys, at the first fuel stop, about 130 odd k's into the stage. Going along well, but it's I don't know if you can see in the distance. It's loose, shaly stones on sands. They're bloody slippery, so taking it a bit easy today. Otherwise, all good.
I know you're itching with that sound, eh?
Yeah, I love it, eh? But James Alexander, he's from Maun in Botswana, and he gave me a call and he said, listen, I want to do this race. And he's not there to win it, he's there to finish it. But he's the nicest guy you can ever meet. And I'm sure that everybody in Botswana are shouting and cheering. We got no bikers from South Africa this year. But with Ross and James flying the flag for Botswana and for Southern Africa, I think they've got so many guys rooting for them up north.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely magnificent. So he's not last. And that is a mega achievement.
The problem from running where he is at the moment is that he spends so much more time on the bike.
Yeah. And
this is something that you have to consider. So the factory guys, everybody in the front, get in at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever the case is. And then after that, he's got another 2 or 3 hours on the seat, on the saddle, and then still come in and then work on his bike. So that's the thing that catches these riders at the end of the day. The fatigue will eventually start catching up with him.
Yeah. And Darryl, he must be in amongst the trucks and the cars. I mean, he must be up against it out there. There was so much dust out there. Tay said it was incredibly dusty out there today. So, yeah, those back markers, it must be sheer hell.
So when I hurt myself in 2013 and I had all of those, the cars and the trucks catching you and passing you, it's the most frightening thing that you'll ever have in your life. And I said that if I had to race and finish way at the back, I would rather not go and race because it is that dangerous. And when those trucks and cars pass you, there's just fish and dust and you can't see anything. It's quite scary. Not a good place to be.
So just in terms of time, right now Xavier de Sultre, he's been racing for 15 hours and 25 seconds. James Alexander has been racing for 15 hours and 25 seconds plus 14 hours 56 seconds. Nearly double. He's getting good value for his money.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The time factor, the speed difference is so big that that's absolutely when the fatigue's going to start catching these guys.
I think it's brilliant. Andrew Horndog, apparently you're a busy boy today.
Yeah, it is, Colin. It's absolutely flat out here on the comments. Garth Roberts wants to know, why was Short not allowed to continue? Can anybody answer that one? And then question number 2 from Greg Sharman in the UK is, do the bikes and the cars get fuel from the same source?
I can address the fuel one, and the answer is no and yes. Because in the bivouac there's a refueling station, but the bikes also get fuel at their refueling points down the route, and the cars don't go to that refueling points down the route. The cars get their fuel in the bivouac, and then, for instance, today there was quite a long liaison, and it was a concurrent route with the service route, so that they could refuel from the service cars with what known. So where the DSS is, they were going to meet a little bit before then, and on the side-by-sides do maintenance, and everybody would have got the right level of fuel to go down the stage. You can only service after you've left the bivouac if the route that the service crew goes is coincidental with the rally route. And the green line is the service route, and the red line is the racing route. So that's the fuel question. What was the other one?
Was he allowed to continue?
Oh, why didn't Stuart continue?
I was Short not allowed to continue, yeah. Engine blew up, I think.
No, I don't think so. I just think the bike wouldn't start. But it
stopped.
might have been a personal decision, or I'm not actually sure. We don't really have an answer for that.
But I'm sure, Stephie, you
Colin,
can you can make a mission to find out.
I don't have the answer, but I do have some information, and that and I'm literally getting it straight off the site. So Stuart, at any point, please jump in as well. The rally organisers are set to change after water contaminated the fuel supply given to the motorbike class on Monday, which resulted in the retirement of front runner Andrew Short. There was water in his fuel, as we know. Complaints have been lodged. Yamaha have filed a complaint with FIM, but we will absolutely look into this further, and we'll come back to you with the correct information.
That's our commitment. Ask any question. If we haven't got the answer, we know people who will have the answer.
He would have, just to jump in there, he would have definitely been allowed to continue.
Yeah.
It's just whether he was prepared to empty the tanks and put fresh fuel in. Or maybe he did try that and he couldn't get the bike started.
That's what I understand.
I don't think Andrew would have just given up. I can tell you now that he would have exhausted all different avenues to try to get his bike going. He would have drained his tanks, he would have put fresh fuel in, and the bike probably still wasn't able to start. He wouldn't have just given up like that. But the organisers certainly wouldn't have stopped him from going out. They would have allowed him to try and get his bike going,
I've got
Hondo, what else?
Stuart Gregory's comment on that is he left the race and wanted to restart. And then Johan van der Vente has come along and said he couldn't get going after changing the fuel in the filters and wasn't able to get it towed to the end. I guess there's about 3 different stories here, but we've got to find one of them, and we can always address it tomorrow.
Talking about people not continuing, yesterday Bernard ten Brink also assaulted the earth and spread sand into the neighboring country at 160 k's an hour, went end over end. They got that car into service last night, very late, and they rebuilt it. And he went out this morning, and on the liaison stage, there was a decision made not to continue. Why the exact reason? A lot of things happen during a race, and you don't get the real reason. That only comes out over time. You know, there's a lot of marketing effort that people try to protect. When your engine blows up and the conrod knocks the alternator off, it's an electrical problem.
Yeah.
Because
I think
alternator failed.
the feedback that I'm getting about that crash, it was a massive end-over-end crash.
Yeah.
And when they started in the morning, I think one of them was experiencing pain.
Yeah.
So I think it was an injury from the driver or the navigator that forced him to stop, not the car. Because they did manage to, rebuild the car overnight. But I think could stand to be corrected, but an injury-related issue.
That was my thinking as well. Going end over end at 170 k's an hour in those things is not fun, and the ground is hard. And we shall find out, and we shall revert. Let's just make a note for our research department to go further. The other thing that I had was, today, again, on the side-by-sides, there's a lot of planned maintenance that they go through, and Stuart Thompson and the team is for South Racing. They're doing some really good stuff. Today, the comment from Simon Murray on the pictures is he said, I can just hear the credit card machine breaking with all the brand new parts that they're throwing at the cars. Did we talk about the overall results?
We did.
Because Shamir Bariawa is up to 42nd now, and I still think that it's really, really lacquer that he'll get his head right, and because again, he had some 2 days of really cuck luck, and now it's going again.
They got stuck in the sand, and of course we got Dennis Murphy there.
Yeah.
Another biker. Sorry, I just have to throw that in there.
What is it with you bikers?
They never get it out of their system. I can tell you now. I've got a teammate that is an ex-biker in the SAES, and they never get it out of their system.
I think all these cars would be getting lost if it wasn't for the bikers.
Okay, well, talking about bikers, just to
in there, because obviously they're all bikers, we know that, but then let's add something to the mix. One of them's female as well, and we're calling it multitasking. Just say.
Oh yes, I hope she's
Can,
not.
can you, Layla Saints, how's she doing? While
Liar.
we Layla
Liar
Saints.
Sense.
Sands.
Sense.
Yes. Okay, all right. Muchas
Sands in
gracias,
your-
senor. Steffi, while we talk about, I just want to prove a point about how crazy bikers are. That there's something, a switch is not entirely on. We have a small clip of the Mully motor. Now, I love the way they've gone, they're calling it originals, but it's still Mull. They Mull Oaks on motos. So just to give you an idea of, we've spoken about the trommel. Fritzy, play that little clip that shows the stuff that a Mully motor goes through.
Hi guys, just a quick one. A couple of you have been asking what our Mully Moto pit is like. So there's these two big trucks here. The bikes are normally in two big rows. They're moving them out the way now because they've started packing up. Because they've got to pack. There's about 6 of the guys looking after us. They've got to pack these two trucks here. Normally there's a whole bunch of benches here, all sorts of tools, and there's the motor stand over there with all the products on, which we just help ourselves to, which is really good. And our trunks, I was over there just now, but there's a charging station in this trunk, so I'm charging my air vest at the moment, and it looks like it's full. It's very important every night to charge the air vest, yeah, the guys are just packing it all up, and I'm going to bed for another dead sleep. Thanks again for your support, guys, and catch you tomorrow.
Listen to the joy in his voice.
That was old James Alexander,
Yeah.
of course, there, and yeah, what a super guy. He's just having so much fun. He is really having getting value for money there, just breathing it all in, having the experience that so many others are missing out on.
And he's still riding. I think it's absolutely. We're getting to the end. Our legal department have said that marketing wants technical to get us close to the end. So tomorrow. Today was the longest day in terms of overall distance that they travel. Only 330 odd Ks of racing. Tomorrow they're racing for 456 Ks, which is the second longest racing stage. And the total distance is 662. That road crossing in the middle there is a potential spot for service. And on the bulletins, I haven't picked up anything that says that you can't service there. But yeah, so that's going to be a hell of a interesting one. The service crews, they've only drive 520 Ks today. It's a short day for them.
And tomorrow, of course, also the toughest stage of the rally. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the gaps. Today the gaps are super close. It was a very fast stage today, and tomorrow I expect the gaps to be a lot broader than that. So super interesting day coming tomorrow.
And tomorrow's Thursday, which is the day before Friday, which is the day before Raceday. So they're almost at Raceday, and now it's a case of thin the herd and put markers down, and the race is probably going to turn on tomorrow.
Strategy is definitely coming to it at the moment, and I think that's why some of the guys have maybe held back a little bit today to focus on tomorrow, not opening the road for tomorrow. So it's going to be a very interesting cat and mouse game to see how who gets to the finish first tomorrow.
Oh, it's exciting stuff. Steffi, who are you looking for tomorrow? Where's your interest going to be? We know that you wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning to follow every little piston stroke. What's your interest for tomorrow?
I agree with Darryl. It is going to be the toughest stage of the race. I did read somewhere today that haste makes waste, and I really like that. I think it's going to be about nervous navigation. You're going to have to hook up. They're going to have punctures. It's going to be tough out there. I am particularly interested in the bikes. I think the gaps in the cars are opening up, but it just takes one. It just takes one mishap to go down there. I don't think we can actually call this. My crystal ball is simply not working at the moment. Dakar is thrown it out the window. But I'm really excited to see what the guys on the bikes are going to do. And, of course, our teams, our Southern African teams, so proud of them. So proud of them.
I love the bubbly enthusiasm and absolute passion that you've got. Of course, you, dear reader, dear listener, dear watcher, If you to follow the pistons as they go up and down in the most difficult stage tomorrow, go to the Southern African Dakar Group and check it out. There is some, it's amazing. It will change your life forever, because you think that you go to work, and for the first 2 weeks in January we're actually a bit screwed, because I'm trying to paint a house at the moment, but in the meantime I'm checking this out and seeing what the hell is going on. It's an all-consuming passion, this Dakar stuff.
No, it is. Once you get into it, you can't leave it. I'm also super excited to see how the South Africans do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Rooting for everybody, and Botswanas, not only South Africans.
Southern
Ross and
Africans.
James, let's wish them all the best of luck.
Andrew, last, what's your, you've sit with now with, you've got an extra screen that you've had your technical department install so that you can follow the live tracking.
Yeah, well, I'm following, I think, 5 Facebook pages for comments, 1 YouTube channel, and I'm listening to you lot talk rubbish as well. So, yeah, I'm multitasking. I think just on what Darryl was saying there, Stuart Gregory's come through with the coolest comments ever. Can't wait to go back next year. 2 weeks camping in the desert with my mates, and I think that pretty much sums up the Dakar on a bike.
Wait to
I
actually
can't
go.
wait to hear all Stuart's stories on Saturday, because don't forget, Stuart's going to be joining us for our legend. So it's going to be really, really interesting.
And that legend thing is basically a roundtable sort of discussion with people who have had massive impact and input in the Southern African Dakar stuff. It's going to be lots of fun. And if you'd like to, come and join us in our mobile studio, our Pretoria edition. It is in Vatswaye. They've got some brilliant cars here. Darryl, which one is your favorite car here, the black Mustang or the white Camaro?
Yes, yeah, I'll take any one of them, man. You must really come and have a look. There's an awesome bar over there. There's cool stuff. There's bikes over there.
I just wish that bar...
Definitely going to come out and have a look.
We've got to talk to the guy who owns the bar, because
It's closed.
There's not one bottle of brandy in there. It's a travesty of justice.
I'm going to phone Cyril.
Don't get me started on Squirrel. Darryl Curtis, a legend, a Dakar guy, a finisher, a backbreaker.
Has been.
No, you're not. You know, in order to be a has-been, you have to be a was.
Oh, well, I never was.
Or an
so
is. No, you were. You are an absolute legend.
I'm
and
having fun.
a
That's
good
the most
friend of
important part.
Dakar, and thank you very much for joining us and teaching me a whole lot of stuff. It's been our pleasure.
Thanks for the invite, guys. It's been really good.
And to technical and the directors, thank you very much. To Vatswaye Kobe, thank you so much for the use of your property. To our bubbly Cape, our Cape Province inhabitant, Stephie Vetter, thank you so much for the level of enthusiasm and drive that you bring the show, as well as your incredible knowledge and connection base. I'm speechless for once.
Thank you so much, Colin and Darryl. It was super, super chatting. Andrew, everyone, sayonara till tomorrow. Love you guys.
Horn Dog, good job, boy. Make up the list of all the questions we haven't answered, and let's work through it. Thank you very much, Andrew. You've been a bloody star. And to you, our viewers, thank you very much for watching. It's been... Oh, I love this stuff. I've got goosebumps. It is absolutely magic. I love racing. And remember, ask yourself every day, what did I do today to make racing betterer and betterer wherever I go? Be lekker, be safe. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Ciao.